The years of war, weakness, and chaos will be over. I don't have wars.
We will forgive $10,000 in outstanding federal student loans.
Read my lips. No new taxes.
Yet once these candidates became president, those promises disappeared. This happens again and again and again. So why do presidents keep making promises they can't keep? Are they just lying? Well, yes, there are many politicians who lie to get elected. H.L. Mencken once said, if a politician found he had cannibals among his constituents, he would promise them missionaries for dinner. But that's not always the case. In reality, there are 5 reasons this keeps happening. The first reason is simple. Elections are marketing campaigns. Candidates are essentially competing products. They need to stand out. They need attention. They need voters to remember them. So they offer bold proposals, tax cuts, no more wars, job creation, healthcare reform. In many ways, running for president looks less like writing policy and more like selling a product. The famous historian Joseph Ellis once said, none of the founders would ever have run for president in the current political climate. They would have regarded it as prostitution. The process of campaigning itself has little to do with the qualities necessary to actually govern. To win elections, candidates must sound certain. I might lower taxes depending on the economy sounds weak. I'll cut your taxes on day one wins votes. But there's a deeper reason politicians make these promises. Promises are data. Researchers at Washington University in St. Louis suggest something surprising. Campaign promises are also a way to collect information. Campaign promises, realistic or not, reveal what voters want. If a candidate proposing Medicare for all wins a primary, it tells political elites that the policy is popular. In other words, promises are data, but not all voters see them the same way. Some voters are rational. They know certain promises are unlikely. Others are credulous. They believe the promises. But both groups provide useful information. When voters support a bold promise, it signals demand. In other words, sometimes the promise itself isn't the point. The reaction to the promise is. But even when presidents want to keep their promises, another obstacle appears. The system slows. Everything. The president is powerful, but not all powerful. Even the president must work with institutions like United States Congress, Supreme Court of the United States. Passing major policies often requires negotiations, compromises, votes, court approval. A president can propose change, but the system decides whether that change actually happens. And sometimes, the system says no. Even if a president acts alone, it rarely lasts. Executive power is limited, and unlike laws passed by Congress, executive actions can be undone the moment the next president takes office. But even that isn't the whole story, because the biggest obstacle might actually be the voters themselves. Voters don't always punish broken promises. During election season, people pay attention. Debates, speeches, campaign ads. But once the election ends, attention fades. Researchers studying voter behavior found something interesting. Voters pay far more attention during campaigns than during governance, which creates an unusual incentive. Candidates loudly back policies during elections, then quietly shift them later to serve shadowy institutions, lobbyists, and billionaire interests. And it works because people are so polarized, they're always busy arguing with each other. But even if voters paid close attention, there's still one final problem. The future is unpredictable. Campaigns happen in the present, but governing happens in the future, and the future is impossible to predict. Unexpected events can completely change priorities. For example, the Pearl Harbor attack dramatically reshaped U.S. policy. Presidents also face economic crises, wars, political opposition. Sometimes these events force decisions that directly contradict campaign promises. In other cases, leaders simply change their minds. History is full of examples. We need to understand campaign promises aren't contracts, they're signals. Signals about priorities, signals about values, signals about what voters want to hear. And once the campaign ends, the real work of governing begins. Elections reward bold promises, but governing rewards compromise. So, when you vote for a candidate, research the promise first. Ask yourself, is it even plausible? Don't just fall for the branding. We've seen how broken promises and political branding keep us divided, but there's a deeper biological reason we fall for it. To understand why our brains are actually wired to pick sides, and how a 1950s experiment with schoolboys proves it, you need to watch this next video on the Robbers Cave and the Science of Tribalism.